And it's time for the press preview. First look at what's on the front pages of the papers. To start with our sister publication, this day newspaper, as is customary with us here. Let's see what it is saying. Adeleke survives. The Supreme Court affirms his election. PDP Buhari Tinubu celebrate with some riders. President urges citizens to team up with governor to develop the state. I'll govern with God's fear. Adeleke promises, says verdict historic. It's evident Bivas has come to stay. That's coming from Atiku. INEC APC Tinubu may oppose live broadcast of proceedings. And FG approves acquisition of Abuja Disco by Transcorp Consortium. Then just on the top mast there, MFL, Arity 200, that's Race to 200 Foreign Flow Initiative, boosted non-oil exports by 40% in 2020 to $1.7 billion inflow recorded in Q1 2022.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch this morning. Presidential poll, tribunal to consider PDP and Labour Party's live broadcast request. Broadcasting proceedings live is of national importance. That's from Atiku's legal team and also the Labour Party. Meanwhile, Justice Samani promises speedy treatment of demand and APC vows appropriate response. The leading photo there of the dancing governor. Final victory, Buhari Tinubu congratulate Adeleke as supporters jubilate in Osun State. Just below there, federal government orders private jets removal from Abuja Airport. 15 people die in Sokoto boat accident. Meanwhile, 25 people are still missing. Above the nameplate of the Punch this morning, Speaker, 5 aggrieved aspirants team up against Abbas. Otedola fumes over Transcorp deal as Elumelu keeps mum. And just one more headline of the Punch this morning. The federal government says over $200 billion national assets have been lost to terrorism.
The Guardian leads with the erratic power situation in Nigeria. It says amid 168% tariff hike in 8 years, Nigerians pay premium for unavailable electricity. There are other stories on the front page of the Guardian this morning. You can pick a copy to find out more.
All right, let's look at the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun, presidential election tribunal entertains Atiku's pre-hearing petition tomorrow. Tinubu asks court to dismiss APM suit against his victory. Pro-democracy group CGN on fair judgment. And just beside the logo of Daily Sun, NAS, senators-elect push for Carlo Yeri ticket. 18 North Central lawmakers reject APC zoning. 18 North Central lawmakers. Nigeria's electricity market could be among world's best. FG chooses Transcorp as Abuja Disco. Buhari Blair Kojewala to speak at induction of new returning governors. And then, of course, jubilation in Osun State as Supreme Court affirms Adeleke governor.
Some international papers now. The Guardian UK, leading headline, Trump sexually abused writer in 1990s. New York jury finds. The ex-U.S. president told to pay E. Jean Carroll $5 million in damages in civil case. That's a photo of her looking so happy. She says this case has cleared her name. Just below that, first UK baby born with DNA from 3 people. This is a groundbreaking IVF procedure. If you want to know more about that, check out The Guardian UK.
Well, the verdict against former President Donald Trump leads a couple of newspapers on the foreign scene this morning as well, including the Telegraph, the Eye also as well. So let's bring in Emmanuel Bello for an analysis of some of these top stories on the front pages. Hello, Emmanuel. Great to see you.
Good morning. Great day.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's start with this day as usual. A couple of stories there. I wonder what you want to touch on this morning. Adeleke survives as Supreme Court affirms him. But there's also the story about the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which is continuing pre-hearing today. But this story on the front page of this day says, INEC, APC, Tinubu may oppose live broadcast of proceedings. We know that the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar is asking for these live broadcasts. Emmanuel?
Well, yeah, it's funny that Tinubu and the INEC are actually kicking against the live broadcast, but it's an idea that is really catching on with, and it seems as if the request will eventually be granted, because a lot of people are watching this tribunal keenly. Many people believing that is their last-ditch effort to secure any kind of victory. But Adeleke is the big story in town. And it's interesting to hear the sort of things that even people that you didn't expect them to say those things are saying. Buhari, for instance, lauding the victory and calling it a victory for democracy. He said very pretty, let me read it out here. He said election should be seen as a path to an end, which is the progress of the people in a peaceful environment rather than ending bickering. This is a time for inclusion and harmony in the state at the end of the litigation. So, I mean, we've seen the president actually, who is practically the leader of the party that lost in the court, lauding it. Some people were a bit confused yesterday when I spoke with some people. They were like, they don't understand the president. But then this is Buhari trying to be presidential, saying that it's a victory for democracy, it's victory for the cause, it's a victory for elections. This president has always said that he's all for transparent elections. Even Tinubu himself had good things to say about this election. He said things like, okay, one of his quotes here, he said, I must commend the immediate past governor of the state. Apart from that, he said, he's Tinubu too, towing that part, saying that elections are the best show of the best things in democracy, and that the decision of the apex court must be respected as final. One is wondering if he's going to also say the same thing, if this should be his case. He's also in the court, he's also at the tribunal. So these are very punchy kind of comments around the victory. But beyond this, beyond the big names, I think a lot of people are just happy that the dancing governor has got more time to dance in victory, and of course to also deliver on the promises that he's made to the people. His slogan is the immolating, which is light. He's brought light to the people. So a lot of eyes will be on him now that all the court cases are done and he's free at last, so to speak. A lot of people want to see what he's going to do as a governor beyond what looks like the specter of someone that likes to dance, is very entertaining, seems to give up very positive vibes. People would like to know the kind of governor he's going to be, but already a lot of people say that he seems to be doing the right thing in the right places. But of course, we're going to be fact-checking his administration as time goes on.
Yes, Emmanuel. Now let's take a look at the correlation between this Supreme Court judgment in Osun State and what we should be expecting in the Presidential Election Tribunal. If you take a look at what the Apex Court said in this case, it says, although Oyetola says that Adeleke won with overvoting in over 700 polling units, there was no substantial evidence from the BVAS. So basically saying that, look, the BVAS is the primary source of evidence. So this is sort of a precursor to what we should expect in the Presidential Tribunal, do you think?
Yes, I think so, because in one of the articles speaking on that, on the tribunal itself, the Osun thing, was excited. He said BVAS is the difference maker, and that at the end of the day, it is what it is the interplay between what one party is claiming and what, of course, can be verified scientifically, which is what BVAS was supposed to do in the first place, to ensure that we have elections that align with the best technology and everything. But all over the world, we've seen where people have even denied results coming from technology. Remember the case between Fox and Dominion. Dominion was the machines that were used in the elections, and some election result deniers say that there's even with that, elections were still rigged. So those are the sort of challenges that is going to be posed at the courts. But again, with regards to the tribunal, beyond the issue of evidence, a lot of Nigerians are rooting for more transparency at these tribunals for the outcomes of the decisions that will be taken. I think more people want to see more of live broadcasts. They want to see that everything is out there in the open, so that at the end of the day, we can actually bring a closure to this whole thing about how and why the APC won elections.
All right, let's look at the Sun. The issue of the zoning arrangement of the All Progressives Congress is still raising dust. NAS, senators-elect push for Carlo Yeri tickets. 18 North Central lawmakers-elect reject the zoning. And then the story of Nigeria's electricity market could be among the world's best. FG is disclosing that Transcorp chooses Transcorp as Abuja Disco. What do you make of these two stories? Hello.
Okay, I think. Indy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you very well. I said the one on the story on electricity. It's one that is a bit tacky because the headline there is saying that Nigerian electricity market is one of the best. I don't know whether it's in on the part of the marketers of this electricity or on the part of those experienced, because the Guardian has a huge story on the crisis of electricity in Nigeria, the fact that people are not getting the kind of, everyone has condemned the power sector, and the Guardian did a very huge story around that. But again, maybe there are two stories on two different perspectives, because the Guardian has been doing back-to-back, looking at various sectors, and one of the things they're looking at is this area. The area today is electricity, the fact that Nigerians are not getting the best they can get from that sector. And then the crisis in the National Assembly, yes, is raging. We're not hearing too much of opposition to the emergence of Akpabio, other than the sort of thing that we were saying yesterday, the issue of his record, his personality, what kind of vibe he's going to give as someone, a lot of people watching what he's done in NDDC and the rest of it. And in the yesterday you spoke about party supremacy. At the end of the day, what's happening in the APC is the clash between what the party is saying on one hand and what the legislators are saying. They've always said that, look, they should be allowed to be the one to determine the outcomes of their leadership, and that it is not something that is left to the executive, for instance, to decide, or that they should not pattern their zoning system after what must have happened at the executive arm. So that's what we see playing out now. The gang-ups are going on and everything. At the end of the day, it's going to be the test of wills between what the party is able, whether the party will be able to rein in its members and effect the changes or the zoning formula or formula they've taken. So we'll watch to see how interesting, because as we speak, it's really gathering a lot of dust around the issue of those ganging up against the anointed, chosen candidates, as opposed to what the members themselves are rooting for.
Anointed, chosen candidates, Emmanuel, what a way to put it. Very quickly, I wonder if you will touch on the Trump story on the front pages of the international papers this morning. It was a civil case and not a criminal case. So once again, looks like Donald Trump is escaping criminal charges there. A cat with 9 lives, do you think? He does say he will appeal. He wasn't given enough time, which is not true.
So many things in that story are this way, because one is how the past can suddenly catch up with you. To over 20 years ago, and this lady is out now, still seeking all these years, trying to get some form of, closure to the mental anguish. She said, for instance, that it is not just even winning this case that is I think it's the fact that, the fact that she could be believed, because of course Trump said he never knew this woman, in the classical way of Bill Clinton saying he never knew that woman. So this this time, she's not just the only woman. I think in the last count, over 15 women have come up, or even more, to charge Trump with some kind of, abuse or the other in the past. But the other interesting thing this way is how much of this is actually, robbing Trump of his popularity. A lot of commentators are beginning to wonder whether this will dip that popularity as we head into the election year. Obviously, the numbers are not showing that these cases are really doing anything to Trump, and that's, I think, the amazing thing about it. Else, in other climes at other time, this kind of accusation should be able to end someone's career, but this is not a deal breaker between Trump and his base. Some people even saying that, well, this seems to add fuel to the fire of his fame, and especially among his base, who don't even believe anything. Himself, like you say, saying that he's going to appeal, and this is just witch hunting and no more, no less. So it's strange that in societies where, of course, a lot of premiums is placed on this kind of thing, Trump is not being hurt by this kind of accusation. But of course, at the moral, individual level, people are getting some kind of closure to the mental, torture they have gone through over the years, knowing that this man that is running for president, this man that is this popular, has done this to them, at the time when they were not being able to talk. So, well, for them, it's justice. But for the man himself, Trump, it looks as if this is not doing anything to him. But who knows whether, just a trickle of all of this, at the end of the day, will really rob him of not only just the popularity, but of the presidency when he seeks it next year.
All right. I don't know what I will have. We still have time. All right. We have one more. Let's look. Well, Kechi, go on before I get to Arise proper thought.
All right, Emmanuel, let's take a look at more stories leading the front pages of the national dailies. If you take a look at the Punch newspaper, just at the top there, it says, this is coming from the federal government, over $200 billion dollars in national assets lost to terrorism over the space of some years, Emmanuel. I know you've read that story. What are your thoughts?
No, it's just, I think for everybody looking at that story, you just look at the cost, not just because we've always talked about the human angle of the insecurity. We've all lived throughout these years, we've lived with, horrendous stories of, people's personal lives, how people have been dealt with by banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and all of that. Yes, we've seen the human cost and the human angle to it, but now we're also putting some figures on it, and we can see the drain that terrorism and banditry has had on the economy. So that explains what we have to all cope with, that the economy too has been really, really affected by what has been going on. It's an indictment of the biggest kind to the fortunes of security, and especially for this president that ran on the fact that he's going to secure us more. We've lost not just human beings, not just lives, but of course the economy has really, really suffered, and now the figures are out there. We're putting figures to the crisis itself to see how much damage has been done.
Just one more story, international actually, away from the Trump issues. This is quite interesting. First UK baby born with DNA from 3 people is actually an IVF. They said created the baby to prevent babies from inheriting diseases from parents. It's a groundbreaking operation, they called it here. What do you make of that story? First baby born with 3 DNA.
3D. So essentially, how do you even establish the paternity of this child? I think that would be, those are some of the crises that you have when science have to actually, try to imitate, the natural creative process, creation process itself. So those are the kind of, concerns. But again, science is breaking new grounds, whether it's in health or in procreation, like we're having it. But it's always interesting to see the length, the extent to which we're willing to go to replicate some of the things that nature just gives to us. And now that a baby has been born with 3 DNAs, you begin to wonder if tomorrow there's need for some tests. A lot of people try to establish paternity from that. But it's groundbreaking, it's science, and I think a lot of people who are interested in this sort of goofy science breakthrough will be interested in this. They're interested in this story. In the past too, we've seen some scientific groundbreaking efforts in ending historic diseases like cancer and other things. So this is keeping with what science is trying to do, the conflict between what science is trying to achieve, against what nature has always prescribed. And I think it makes for interesting reading and makes it very curious. Imagine Indy having 3 DNA as an individual.
I know why you're imagining me. I already have babies. I'm not doing no IVF. Stop imagining me.
Well, yes, I guess, but again, the crisis of science, in relation to what we expect every day. Where people even actually now wondering whether the DNA testing would be the best way to actually establish paternity and all of that, because a whole lot of things going on there, and IVF too being part of this whole issue of creation, procreation, and the role of science.
Well, that's one story I'll definitely pick up to read to find out details of that. Emmanuel and Indy with 3 DNA. Wow. Okay. We have to let you go. He was imagining if you had 3 DNAs.
I thought about imagining.
Emmanuel, thank you so much for the analysis this morning. We hope to see you tomorrow again.